Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Founders and Leaders series. And today I'm joined by Tobi Andersson, who is General Manager for Market Research at Forsta. He will explain in much more detail what that actually entails and how he ended up in this role. Now, I need to preface this episode by saying we're recording in November 2025. There are some potential changes on the horizon as regards corporate ownership for Forsta, which may transpire, but we're not in a position to talk about any of that here for obvious reasons while those negotiations are going through. So we will be talking specifically about Tobi's experience as an entrepreneur, as a leader in the market research technology space, his views on how the future may develop, and any advice that he has for other entrepreneurs, founders, and leaders out there. So Tobi, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great, good to be here. So I've given a little trail to say that, your current role is leading the market research side of Forsta. Maybe you can just give us a bit more flesh around that and perhaps start, how did you come to that role? What's your story from the entrepreneur side of things, before you landed here?
Yes, no, absolutely. Right. As you said, today I'm the general manager for market research here at Forsta, and that means that I'm responsible for the strategies around how we go to market with our market research offering. And that also includes the way we are developing our technology to support professional market researchers and insights professionals at market research departments. The way I got here is that it's a long story. It started actually back in 1999 when I was working in a at a fieldwork house, scripting KT surveys. And I created a lot of data by collecting data from telephone interviews, but also at that time, web interviews started to become very popular. The common denominator was that each time when I did send my data to customers, they told me that, hey, Tobi, is there like any other way where you can send this data differently? Because these SPSS files are great, but we also need to be able to consume this data in a faster way, different way. So this is like almost 25 years ago. And then I said that there must be a different way for how we can consume market research data. And that actually led up to when I was founding my business, Dapresy. So 2003, I founded Dapresy, and the objective with that business was to focus and be specialized within the market research industry. Actually having a very clear focus where we said that we are only going to be good at doing one thing, and that is to be able to take any kind of market research data and in a very efficient way visualize this different for different stakeholders, but always easy to consume. So over the next 15 to 20 years, I was building from a local Swedish company with one employed person to we ended up more than 100 people employed and with businesses operating in basically each region across the globe. And
question.
then
I've never asked you this question, but what's the origin of the name, the brand name, Dapresy?
That's a great question. And so we were a couple of people sitting down trying to figure out what's a good name for a company that is going to do what we are going to do. So then we found out that we are going to be a data presentation system. So that is Dapresy. It stands for Data Presentation System.
Okay, I learned something new. That's great. Yep. I interrupted you. Carry on. You were telling me about the journey.
No problem. But as we then can conclude is building a business like this, you get to a certain size and then you can start to see that it could make a difference if you engage with external investors that can help you on your growth journey to even further expand and even faster grow your business. So that is basically how I, after 15 plus years, partnered with Verdane Capital, a private equity firm. And together with them, we laid out the future plans for Dapresy, how to grow the business and both expand our product portfolio, but also our market penetration. That went well. Naturally, we were able to take the next step on our company, building this journey, and that is when Dapresy and Confirmit merged. And that then did lead up to Confirmit Dapresy and FocusVision merging, becoming Forsta. And since we are now talking about what different names means, so Forsta is actually building on our Nordic heritage because it means to understand in the Nordic languages. So Forsta was the name for the combination of then Dapresy, Confirmit and FocusVision. The golden thread in my journey here over all the years has always been that I've been focusing on market research. Even if Forsta today, we are also supporting the voice of the customer industry, the CX and EX type of business applications. I have always stayed in the lane in market research because I clearly see that creating offerings, value propositions to market research professionals, both in market research agencies and market research departments, it really requires a strong focus because the use cases are different if you compare to how you work at an enterprise, maybe doing 1 or 2 programs versus having a production of market research. So that is my speciality, and that is also, I've been having different roles here at Forsta over the years, but where I am today is to, basically have a responsibility for the market research business.
That's great. Thanks for the history. We'll come back, I think, to some of the lessons and along that journey. But just sticking with Forsta, so Confirmit, obviously Dapresy as part of that, FocusVision, lots of different capabilities and tools in those stages in that journey. Can you just talk a bit, what is in the Forsta market research toolbox right now then? How do you look at the suite of tools that are there and the legacy products that have come into that?
Yeah, and to fully understand that, I would like to take a step back because I had a clear vision when we were starting to talk to how to integrate 3 companies, Dapresy, Confirmit and FocusVision, because I have always been a big fan of understanding what is it that we can do to create a very efficient process for professional market researchers. And that process always includes that you have a combination of activities that relates to sample, to data collection, and to commingling data, reporting on data, and make analytics on data. So that was the whole rationale why we combined these companies that then became Forsta, because I, together with my colleagues, we could clearly see that if you combine these different tools, then you can create one streamlined process where every activity that you do as part of producing a market research project sits within the same platform. And with that, you also get a lot of efficiency gains, because I had seen this historically when I was only running Dapresy, that it's great to be like a standalone independent tool that can consume and take on any kind of market research data. But there is always this step where you need to maybe have an SPSS file, or an XML file, or an Excel file to get that into a tool and then to start to work with that in order to visualize this. But if everything stays on the same tool, you can actually instantly, the minute you start to do field work, you can then start to report on the data. So that was the whole idea behind this, that we could clearly see by doing this, we can move from a sequential workflow to a parallel workflow, because if all the products are integrated, you can basically start to prepare your reporting the first day when you have some data collected as part of the field work. So that is what we have combined, and we call that the HX, the Market Research HX platform. And that is, the Research HX platform is the combination of the products Decipher, Confirmit, and Dapresy. And they are tightly connected together. So independent of what tool you use, you can have data flowing between these 3 different products. Part of this, we also have something called Sample Marketplace, which is powered by the ability to include sample quite seamless into your production flow.
Yeah. HX is human experience, is that right?
That's the human experience, so how you're able to consume data and experience data. And then the HX is the umbrella for what we do at Forsta. That includes both market research, customer experience, employee experience. More specifically to market research, we call it Market Research HX platform.
And you work with agencies, with research firms, with research departments. Can you give us a sense of the scale of that? Obviously, you operate globally. Can you say sort of in rough numbers, how many research agencies will use Forsta's market research tools?
Yeah, as we can all understand that we have a heritage here where you basically had 3 companies coming together. Each of these companies successfully were operating for many years within the market research industry. And that is also what you see now, because first of all, we are one of the suppliers that operates globally. So we have local presence in North America, in Europe, in Australia, but we also have customers in many other countries. I would say that it's very difficult always to say that how many of the agencies are working with you, because we also need to realize the fact that when you're running a market research agency, you sometimes use more than one technology. But I would say that if I try to indicate something, 6 out of 10 agencies are using one of the technologies that Forsta today offers. And if you look at the market research departments, I think it's a similar situation, because our value proposition to market research departments goes into 2 streams. One is where a market research department can use our software to on their own do market research projects, but also we have a service fieldwork component where we provide support to the department to collect data on their behalf.
Right. Okay. So sort of half to 2/3, so lots of agencies listening to this and research people in-house will probably have touched or used a Forsta product at some point in their career. That's great. So look, that's the Forsta story. That's a bit about your background. Maybe if we can take a step back a little bit, there's a lot of change happening, in the industry, sort of structurally, corporate issues, but also obviously technology is changing faster than any of us can keep up. There's lots of, innovations around AI. There's new ways of working. Can you give us a sense of how you see, what are some of the bigger trends that are happening right now with your customers in your business, and how you see things playing out in the near-term future?
No, and I've been lucky to be able to see different trend shifts within the market research industry. What we could experience was somewhere around 1999, 2000, when a lot of interview methods changed from KT telephone interviews, mail to digital back in 1999, 2000. That was a trend shift that created a lot of change management within the market research departments. We could then see during 2010 to 2018, somewhere around that you started to look at other ways of commingling market research data with other external data sources. And also now we are in a trend shift where AI is becoming a concrete new opportunity for the market research industry. Clearly what I'm seeing is that the last 6 to 12 months, the capabilities of AI is giving us a lot of new opportunities within the market research industry. I don't see that is going to jeopardize the market research industry. It's just one of the trend shifts that is going to happen similar to others that's been happening the last 10 to 20, 30 years. There is always change, and change needs to happen because that's the way you stay modern and following the latest technology. But going back then to how AI will change the way we do market research is that at Forsta, what we see is that there will be an introduction of something that we call research agents. And the research agents will help you as a professional market researchers to do things most likely with higher quality, faster, but also giving you the time to focus on value creation. Because today, where we see AI being really good is to support us when it comes to repetitive tasks, when it comes to find conclusions in big data sets and help guide you in a direction where you can then spend your focus. So clearly what I'm seeing is that AI will be a tool for us to help us to create value in a different way to the consumer of market research. More precise, what that could look like is, for instance, the automation of a lot of the repetitive tasks you do when you set up a project, from how to script a survey. I'm clearly seeing that for the last 20 plus years, we've been scripting surveys manually by dragging and dropping and copy pasting word text into a survey scripting tool. That will, over the next 20 to 24 months, still stay, but we will complement that process with a more automated process where you most likely collaborate in a Word document or similar document where you have the questionnaire, and then you feed it the tool to automatically script the survey questions. I also see that the way questionnaires are being created, you most likely will start being inspired by AI to get an idea about what questions to ask and to what target group. So that is where I see that there will be this first quite change in how we will be working when setting up surveys. But then that also continues in the next process steps. For instance, once you have collected the data, there will be AI helping us to do the repetitive tasks when it comes to preparing data, being ready for reporting. And as we all know on this call, there is always a set of activities you do when preparing data. You decide if you would like to include or exclude no answers or other options. You maybe do top box, bottom box. You maybe combine a set of multi-variables to one multi-question. There are a lot of these kind of tasks that you need to do. This is clearly where we are seeing that AI can learn what you are doing, because each company that produces market research, they have their unique flavor of how they do this. But AI can learn how you do this and then automate this for you. And then we have also when it comes to the reporting, that's also where I see, and I've seen a lot of progress here over the last 6 months, where you basically will have AI help you create a first draft of your PowerPoint presentation. AI will be able to understand how you normally would like to have your PowerPoint presentation created. Look at what background variables do you have, how do you structure your questions, and then create slide decks automatically for you. Still, we need to remember that then you need as a human being to edit those decks and do the final change. But we get 80% to where we need to be. And then also what I have seen, and this is something that we are working at, have a clear, strong focus when it comes to Forsta, is the ability to ask questions to the data. So this means that you will have, and you will see technology being around that we, for instance, can have research agents tell you, what do I see on this PowerPoint deck, the slides of this PowerPoint deck? What do I see in this data, and where do you recommend me to create a focus? So that's a high level view where I'm seeing AI. And we are now at the point also where you can see concrete benefits of AI, because I have also seen, which is great because I was a startup for many years, there are a lot of startups in this space that have a lot of great ideas. And I really love those ideas because this also helps us to think new, to think different within the market research industry. So I do see that there will be a lot of new applications for how you can use AI. Some of them are great and fancy, maybe doesn't give the concrete value that you need, but some of them will transform into something that provides a different benefit that you will use as an agency or a department.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Fascinating time, I think, for the changes. A lot of what you're describing, we've got efficiency coming in to different parts of the process, to scripting, to data preparation, to the reporting, the kind of the interactive data analytics. And then, like you say, there's a whole load of new startups with fresh ideas that come at this completely without any of that, existing thinking, and maybe introducing something completely different that'll inspire change. So yeah, lots to reckon with. Is there a trend, or is there an aspect of AI that you think is being overhyped, or that you think is, won't quite play out the way that people are talking about it?
No, I think it's, as with all hypes, that there is like a natural journey for the hype where you, in the early stages of that hype, you see a lot of new solutions being presented to the market. And then at some point, the hype starts to slow down and normalize. I do think that we've seen a lot of hype solutions coming out to the market over the last 12 months. I think that's where it's quite difficult, because what you can see is that isolated, each solution offered based on AI is very good and does something different, something great. But also you need to understand, and I've learned this myself the hard way, that in order for this to work, it needs to be part of a process. It needs to be part of the day-to-day way that your organization is working. So I do think that's where we have a challenge, and that's also where Forsta take a lead, that we try really to put these great AI components that are now invisible and accessible, and put them into a process that where you as an agency or market research department do not need to change your process, but you can do your process faster and better and with higher quality. Of course, the process also we will start to see that we can change the process, but that also needs to happen in a step-by-step so that you don't jeopardize any of your core production capabilities. What I see, which is very interesting, is the introduction of synthetic sample. I think this is something where we most likely we'll see a couple of use cases being presented to the market over the next couple of years that makes a difference. And exactly how that will play out, it's too early to predict, but I do think that you will be able to use a combination of the data that you collect on your own and combine that with some kind of synthetic approach. If that's digital twins, if that is to add more data to an existing respondent based on patterns, we have to see, but we should be very open to understand that there will be opportunity to see this happening. I also think that could potentially be that you can use synthetic sample to get like a very early understanding of what kind of research I need to do to this target group, what kind of questions I need to ask. Maybe you will see a few things that you didn't think of when you design your project, and that can help you inspire you. But I still do think that the core needs to be like the traditional way you collect data in form of asking real people. But there is something here, and a couple of years from now we will know.
Yeah, okay. So it complements synthetic data, digital twins, likely to be complementary to organic research rather than a substitute, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah, good. Okay, and what about the way that organizations consume data? You're obviously with a lot of focus on packaging data in a way that people can distribute, can share, can interpret easily. How do you see organizations changing the way that they consume this type of data over time?
Yeah, no, and this is of course a topic that I'm a big fan of, and clearly what I could see if you go back 10 to 15 years, so that was the whole idea behind Dapresy, is that at that time, the way you were able to, in the best way, get a organization to consume market research data, to understand the data, to be able what that means for you, put that into context to something, and then to create an organization that act on data. The way where we could see the most success was when we were able to, in a very highly visual way, present this data different to different stakeholder groups depending on their experience of consuming market research data. So we were basically at that time following the natural behavior of the audience because everyone could understand what the picture tells them or a highly visual infographic. They were able to then feel psychologically safe to make decisions on that data. And you could see that organizations using this approach were doing more decisions faster and with higher quality. Where we are today is that, and I think every one of us, this call and listening to this pod, will understand that many of us today, when we would like to get an answer to something, we are having ChatGPT or Gemini on our cell phones. We ask a quick question and then we get something back. So we have, as consumers of data, independent of if it's market research data, any other kind of information, we have started to adopt a behavior where we more ask questions and we get quite good results back. Once we get those results back, we have then also started to approach this by, okay, this is something I would like to learn more about. I would like to take the next step and be more fact-based and have a few triangulating scenarios that really confirms this data. So I think this is what you also will see now within the market research industry, that I do think that there will be a complement to PowerPoint reports, to Excel tables, to online dashboards. There will be a complement where you can have a research agent or you can chat with your data. You ask a question, could be anything. You get something back, and that then helps you either guide you to how you would like to maybe structure a very empirical based table, or how you would like then to create a set of PowerPoint slides that really talks about this specific area. So we are definitely introducing this initial phase in data consumption that did not exist before, but we can have that now because technology is really there to support a very successful outcome of a behavior like that.
Yeah. Okay. So much more interactive, like you say, a kind of chat assistant for insights alongside those, visualization, deliverables, reports, presentations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Now, if we just think again about your experience building a business, leading, Dapresy to growth, to, 100 people all over the world, to leading this bigger team in Forsta, what are some of the lessons that you've learned over time? What are some of the things that you'd like to share with people who might be either building their own startup now or considering taking the plunge?
Yeah, no, first of all, I would like to say that if you're building a startup right now, I'm your biggest fan because building a startup and making that to become a business, that's a journey. And you need to be very determined when it comes to become successful. I do think that there are a lot of studies saying that 10 years after you start a business, it's only 1 out of 10 that survives. So why is a business surviving? And there are a few things that I can share, which I had to learn the hard way, and I did a lot of mistakes. But one thing is that when you build your own business, it's very important to stay focused, because it's so easy when you are looking to maybe create a cash flow to have enough money to pay your bills. It's so easy that you start to dilute yourself doing a lot of things to a lot of different people. But and I made this mistake as well, because you always will have limited with capacity in a startup, but you need to have that capacity to focus on one thing, and you need to be able to do that really well. And that was one of the key success outcomes for Dapresy, because we were able to tell the whole world that we're only going to do one thing. We are going to be the best provider in the world, visualizing market research data in a highly infographical manner. You need to be very brave in order to make that statement, because by doing that, you exclude a lot of potential opportunities that could give you money. But we were brave, and the great success by saying this was that all of a sudden, not only in Sweden where we were founded, across the globe, everyone knew that, okay, I'm going to turn to this company because they know exactly where they sit in this big ecosystem. They know exactly how they are going to provide value to me. Because that's the other successful criteria you need to be aware of as building a startup. Learn your target group. Because if you understand your target group, if you understand what kind of challenges is that they are trying to solve, and you are able to create a product that solves this, is then automatically created a word of mouth that everyone wants to buy from you. So when we were building Dapresy, we did spend a lot of time being very close with our customers, together with them developing a product that created real value. And if you're focused, you stay within your lane, within this target group, you will see that each customer, they have a similar need, and you will be able to create something that creates a lot of value for a lot of people. So stay focused, work closely with your customers, have a value proposition that really resonates with your industry. The other one is that when you're building a startup, normally you have a technical background and you have a very cool idea. You would like to build on that idea, and technology is 90% of your day. I learned the important lesson that in order for me to successfully build a startup, I need to start to do a couple of things. One is to, at a very early stage, delegate. So that was, and I learned this from someone who had done this journey before. They told me, hey, Tobi, you need to start to delegate. You will always feel that when you delegate, it will not be as good as if you were doing this. But once you delegate, you all of a sudden create a machine that works for you, that helps you. And even if each person does 90% of what you are doing, you get a much exponential outcome of that. So I have been so lucky to, and this is the cool thing about Dapresy, that everyone that was together with me 20 years ago, they are still working together with me here at Forsta. So we are a great team, and because I delegated early on, and each of these individuals were able to get a very, good position. The other one is that you need to spend time on leadership, because a startup is based on empowering and holding people accountable. And this goes hands in hand. And the mistake I did sometimes was that I maybe was outselling too much. I was maybe focusing too much on product development. I didn't spend enough time creating the foundation for having a very good organization, that where you gave people the opportunity to grow, but where you also were an attractive employer that could attract new talent. So I would say all of this is important. And as a leader, you really need to cover all these perspectives, because you will never be able to create a startup that becomes something unless you cover all these perspectives. And then there is like one final touch to this, and that is that you will be having a lot of failures during your journey. You will be trying a lot of things. You will be doing maybe 10 things. 8 of them will completely go wrong. One will be something good, but then the 10th time it will work. So I've been telling myself, and I'm still telling myself, that never give up, because everyone in the world can do 80%. There are very few people that can do 100%. And those who can do 100% are those who never give up, who keeps the focus, who maybe works these extra hours a day, but you will see that one day you will wake up and then all of a sudden you have been successful. You just get this tipping point where things start to go your way. So that's the way I've been thinking. If I do everything a little bit better each day, I never give up, I stay focused, and then all of a sudden you just find yourself where you have created something that works.
Okay, great. I've lost count of the number of tips that people can learn from all of that, but it sounds like, stay focused, say no to things that are not in the core. That sounds like, a really important learning there. And, make sure that you're giving attention across the different areas of the business. So ensuring that you're actually focusing on leadership as well as sales and product. And, like you say, keep going, have that sort of relentlessness to keep going through the things that don't work and the mistakes and stay focused. So great. Some great tips for everybody there. So just to wrap up then, for all of those things, we've talked about Forsta, the evolving business there. We've talked about some of the trends in the industry and your stories about what you've learned along the way. The single most valuable piece of advice that you would like to leave our audience with, if you were talking to a startup founder or a business leader in the research technology space, a research firm today, what's the most important piece of advice you'd like to give to them?
I would say be very humble to the fact that the market research industry is a very mature industry. There are a lot of great processes out there, a lot of great ways of how to do research, and a lot of years of knowledge that goes into each market research department or market research agency. If you're going to create your startup and you're going to work in this ecosystem, spend time understanding, learning, and be humble to the fact that the majority of all the things today works really well. It's proven over many years. Try to understand how you can then fit into that existing ecosystem and provide something that further enhances that. If you try to do too much changes, either too fast or too disruptive, you're introducing too many risks to your potential new customers. So I would say that step by step, learn your future clients and work together with them to create a value proposition that really helps and resonates in the market.
That's a fantastic piece of advice. You've only got to read the press releases from some of the VCs who've invested in research tech startups to get the polar opposite of what you've just described, of humility and patience and understanding that a lot of things do work already. You don't need to be blowing an industry up, because you believe that your latest widget is going to solve everybody's problems in a different way. So fantastic advice. Thank you very much, Toby. Okay, well, I think that's probably a wrap. That's all we've got time for today. I really value you taking the time out to share your thoughts with us and to share those lessons that you've learned along your journey. And I hope lots of our listeners and viewers will find that interesting and valuable as well. We have lots more episodes coming out. We have a great lineup over the next couple of months of leaders and entrepreneurs from across the research and technology industry. So stay tuned for more episodes. So that is your Founders and Leaders series story with Tobi Andersson, who is General Manager with Forsta's Market Research Division. Tobi, thank you very much for your time today. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much.